Do you have a tendency to feel guilty for wanting things or having desires? When you have a desire or something that you want, do you have a tendency to kind of put blinders on and just block everything else out and then feel bad about it later because you're not respecting or loving what you have in your life? I'm going to be talking about a very, very important realization I had recently in terms of a narcissistic desire versus a heart-centered desire, and a whole bunch of topics and concepts that there are to unpack around this. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm doing some free breakthrough calls. These are 30-minute calls where we get on Zoom and I go over your vision for your life with you. I go over what it is that you're looking to create and some of the things that are coming up that are preventing you from taking action and manifesting these things, and then some steps you can take to get everything in order and kind of get on your way to your vision. Now, desire is, I will one day write a book on it because I think it's one of the most convoluted, messed up, confused, conflated concepts on the whole planet. Because when you think about it, every single motivation, every single action anyone has ever taken comes from desire. There's no such thing as freedom from our desires in terms of not having any. That's not true. It's not possible. Even if you want to sit in a cave and let go of all your desires, it's because you have a desire to let go of all your desires. It makes no sense. Okay. But when I was an addict, I spent 2 years in rehab, and all I heard about was how selfish we all were. We were selfish. We were self-centered. We were self-seeking. Everything was about us. Everything was about what we wanted. And we got a lot of we need to think about other people. And that's a good thing to do, obviously, to think about other people, but it really messed up my own relationship with my needs and what it is that I wanted for myself. And there was no differentiation between a heartfelt desire or a selfish desire or a desire with attachment or a desire without attachment. So I just kind of demonized all my needs, which strangely enough was the reason I became an addict to begin with. And then when I got out of rehab, I immediately manifested Abraham Hicks. And Abraham Hicks was all about what you wanted. All it talked about was what do you want? What do you want to create? And I felt so unbelievably guilty reading this stuff and listening to these people, because I felt oh, I can't do that. I'm an addict. I'm selfish. If I think about what I want, it's because I'm a bad person. Who can relate to struggling with this on this level? This is something that's very prevalent in spiritual philosophy, that you need to get out of yourself and give to others, which is true to an extent. But what it does is it demonizes your own needs and wants, because if you're thinking about what you want at all, you're selfish. The truth is you cannot separate the two. And I'm going to break down the difference between a narcissistic desire and a heart-centered desire right now. But first, it's important to understand something. There is a difference between being a narcissist and having a narcissistic desire. Okay? Something that we do on this planet is we take a whole bunch of different concepts, ideas, events, experiences, whatever, and we put them all into a bucket and label them all the exact same thing. The problem with this is everybody has kind of their own association with the term that we use. So every single person has a different idea of what a narcissist is. Okay, and there's layers of narcissists, and ultimately narcissism simply is a disconnection from source and God and love. Now, it's important to understand there are narcissists out there. There are hardcore narcissists out there. There's variations of narcissists. There's narcissists who are psychopaths and sociopaths. There are narcissists who are somewhat empathic, who can heal, some that can't, whatever. Every single human being is a little bit narcissistic. We're all a little bit narcissistic, and that's okay. What does that even mean? Self-centered desire. What is a self-centered desire? It's a desire where you're thinking about yourself at the expense of other people. It's not harmonized. It's okay if you're a little bit narcissistic. Now, what is the difference between a narcissistic desire and a heart-centered desire? It is simply this. A narcissistic desire is a desire where you close down your heart to what you already have. A narcissistic desire is simply a desire that you have where when you have it, you are closing down your heart to what you already have. A heart-centered desire is a desire where your heart is still open to what you have. Now, what happens is, if you have a narcissistic desire, and this is very common on planet Earth, most of our desires become narcissistic desires, not because we're self-centered and narcissistic, but because we've lived in scarcity for so long, and we've lived in such horrible states of existence for so long that when we have a desire, we are naturally programmed to kind of put on horse blinders and disavow everything that we have and focus only on what we want. That's scarcity. That's a lack of abundance. And when we do that, we shut out everything we already have. And what we do when we do that, our behaviors when we do that, is we're not there for our partners. We're not really there for our parents. We look at the apartment or the house we have and we're like, fuck this piece of shit. I hate it. I want that. And we do this partially because of programming and partially because we think we have to. We believe that in order to get the next thing, we have to not be happy with what we have. Check to see if you have that belief. Who has that belief? I had this belief so deeply. I had two beliefs I found recently. One was that if I'm grateful for what I have, it will be taken away, which is trauma. It's from eons of loss, and every time you love something, you lose it. So you develop this belief that if I love it and I appreciate it, it will be taken away. So let me not really appreciate it too much so I can keep it. It's like sort of bartering with the Matrix or bartering with the devil, which makes sense, but we don't need to do it anymore. The other belief I had was, I cannot be grateful for what I have and want more. So what we do is, like I said, we disavow all that we have in order to focus on the next thing. And then because of that, we feel guilty. We don't know why we feel guilty. We just feel guilty. The reason you feel guilty is because you're shutting down your heart to what you have. And what you're doing is you're not being loving toward it. And you intuitively know that what you have is good enough. You intuitively know that all you are is love. And so when you shut down your heart, you feel bad. But then what you do is you associate shutting down your heart with desire in general. There's no differentiation. There's no distinction. So, and this also comes, and I'll get to this in a second, this also comes from religious programming. You think that in order to have a desire, you have to shut down your heart. And then when you shut down your heart, you feel bad. And then you associate shutting down your heart with desire. They don't go together. Uncouple them. It is perfectly possible to want more and to be grateful for what you have. That's abundance. So if you're feeling guilty or selfish or self-centered anytime you want anything, know that. Know that you can keep your heart open to what you have. You can love your partner. You can love your apartment. You can love your house. You can love your family. And you can seek to expand more. This is one of the biggest mess ups in history, in the human mind, and a lot of it came from religious programming. It was like, if you want anything, you're bad. If you want anything, you're bad. So then the people that wanted stuff kind of were like, well, screw religion, and I guess wanting stuff for myself is the devil. And so then they felt even worse about wanting stuff, but they also knew that, like, if I go in the direction of God, I'm just going to be miserable and poor, and I can't have sex, and I can't make love, and I can't, like, have a nice house, and I have to live in squalor and poverty. So screw that. That's guilt. And so what that programming did was, it made you feel guilty. It made us feel guilty anytime we had a desire. And so then, anytime we had a desire from that angle too, our heart would shut down and then we'd feel bad because we're shutting our heart down to what we have and we're shutting our heart down to ourselves. So if you know that it's perfectly possible to be totally grateful for what you have, to love what you have, and want more. It's perfectly possible to love what you have and also notice issues with it and want more. Like, for example, I manifested a few years ago a really nice apartment in a really good neighborhood. It also overlooks a church playground. There is noise all day, every day. Kids screaming, parents yelling, carnivals, beer gardens. It drives me nuts. And one of the things that I've wrestled with is like being like, fuck this place, I hate it, and also being grateful for it. And I just had this revelation where it's like, I really do like this place, I really do like this neighborhood, and all that's super annoying. They're not mutually exclusive. And so then I can keep my heart open to what I have and also seek to improve the situation and also seek to create something else. You will never not have a desire. You will always have some form of desire. And if you don't have any desire, it's not healthy. You're not going to go anywhere as a human being. You're not even going to go anywhere as a creator. You're not even going to go anywhere as God. Because God, at the bare minimum, is always just seeking to love itself more and more and more, which is some form of desire. So I would really like write out your beliefs about like having to exclude things in order to get more. And really notice where you feel guilty. Anytime you want something, are you closing your heart down to what you have? Are you judging what you have? Are you saying it's not good enough? Do you think you have to say it's not good enough in order to get more? Start to question these things because you don't. You can think however you want to think. Don't think the way you've been programmed to think. You can unravel, untangle, and unfuck any concept that there is. Let me know how this goes. Let me know if you have any revelations around this. There's a lot more to this topic, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I have a free energy clearing in the description below if you want to download it. Other than that, thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.